Are you considering becoming a solopreneur in today's digital age? Do you also want to know what the future holds for solopreneurship and how you can stay ahead of the game? Well, in today's video, I want to explore a couple of trends and give you some key insights and strategies that I quite frankly think will help you grow tremendously. Welcome to my channel, guys. My name is Isham, and on this channel, I discuss topics related to productivity, growth, mindset, and fitness. Today, I thought about talking around the subject of solopreneurship as it is becoming increasingly popular, right? As the world is becoming more digital and remote work has kind of like already become the new norm, many people are turning to solopreneurship as a way to build meaningful and profitable careers. So what does the future hold for solopreneurship? What are the pros and what are the cons? Because in the famous word of Rocky Balboa, it is not always rainbow and sunshine, baby. So how can you position yourself for success if you are considering becoming a solopreneur? In this video, I'm going to explore some trends, some challenges that I see, and also just some general tips and tricks. So let's dive into the subject. First, with the rise of remote work and the gig economy, solopreneurship obviously is becoming more increasingly popular. Think about it. You don't have to commute to a job anymore for 4 hours a day for a shitty job and a shitty boss that you don't even like. You can basically just open your laptop from any place in the world, drink a couple of mojitos on the beach, and do your work. Now, obviously, all of that sounds much more beautiful than it actually is, because solopreneurship obviously requires first and foremost a level of creativity, and most importantly, a level of being able to deal with uncertainty, because usually most of the jobs that are based on solopreneurship come in the form of assignments, right? They're very short term. They're not based on fixed contracts over a longer period of time. Now, obviously they do exist, but they tend to be more on freelance basis, right? So you need to have this ability to constantly be selling yourself and look for new ways to make money. Now, if you consider yourself a person who's really socially capable of connecting with other people to network and look for opportunities, then solopreneurship definitely may be something for you. But if you're someone who relies on a certain level of, certainty and just knowing what is going to happen tomorrow, then solopreneurship probably isn't going to be your best way, because like I said, you will be heavily dependent on assignments and you being able to prospect for new opportunities in the market. And obviously all of that is easier said than done. And it sounds very nice being able to drink a mojito on the beach somewhere in Bali, but by the end of the day, when economic tides are turning and we turn into a more of a bear market trend, then obviously you being able to find those interesting freelance projects become increasingly more difficult. Obviously, with the advancements in technology, things being able to be automated, artificial intelligence like programs such as ChatGPT in the uprise, it is also very difficult to still be that innovative. The barrier to become an entrepreneur in 2023 has become so low that obviously the competition is extremely high, which begs the question, how are you going to differentiate yourself, right? Because if the entry level is so low, obviously people need to not only hire you for your skills and expertise, but also for your personality and your capability to connect with other people, to connect opportunities, to connect the dots, in the famous word of Steve Jobs, right? So these are some of the challenges that I see, because again, when the gig economy is in its uprise, which it obviously is, although it's still heavily dependent on the overall economy as a whole, right? So if we look at things like the S&P 500, like general market trends, etc., the real estate market, we can see that things could actually go really bad in a couple of months. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. The point that I'm trying to make is that everything is all good and well to work as an independent freelancer or to work as a solopreneur when things are in an economic uprise. However, you also need to be aware of the fact that for every 7 good years, there is going to be 7 bad years, right? As the famous words in the Bible. Not exactly, but you get the point. Right? So there is a couple of challenges to this. And another challenge that I see when it comes to solopreneurship is that a lot of the people that I've met that have been doing this, they face isolation, they face burnout, and these are all result of them not being able to engage with colleagues as you would usually do when you're working for an employer, right? You go to your job, you commute, you're with the same people, hopefully people you like, very often not, but if you're lucky, you get along with your colleagues, you bond, you work on the same thing. And the thing is that with solopreneurship, you usually work with multiple clients, which is nice because it gives you that variety. But at the same time, once you go in with, you pay with depth, right? So you don't really get to connect on deeper levels with people. And so a lot of people that I have met that are doing some sort of coaching or training, or they are, the digital nomad that are, how do you say it, like tech savvy, they, whatever, like programming, those kinds of jobs, right? They usually tend to work very isolated, and therefore they also feel very isolated. So as a solopreneur, you also have to understand that you are so much more than the work that you just do, because you are kind of like a one-person business, which means that you have to consider all aspects of a business, including financial administration, financial housekeeping, prospecting, sales, promoting yourself, marketing, doing the actual work. They're all part of the solopreneurship journey. So you really have to take that into consideration before you decide to go into that realm of, freelancing and becoming a one-person business. Now, like I mentioned earlier, one of the other challenges is that the competition can be extremely fierce. You're not going to be the only one offering their services. And that is totally fine, right? Like, you don't need to be the best of the best to get a job, but you need to look for ways to differentiate yourself. Especially like in the digital marketplace, if you go on, platforms such as Fiverr or Upwork and you want to provide your services, whatever that may be, if it's the creative side, copywriting, sales, video editing, it doesn't really matter. There's so many people doing that and so many people trying to accomplish the same goal as you. So the question is like, how are you any different? How do you stand out? And one of the things that I've come to learn in my personal journey in working with companies as a team coach is, first and foremost, it is really good to keep the communication quick, short, and fast, right? So if you see something, jump on it, communicate effectively, be concise, be short. And in my personal experience, whenever I decide to work with people on Fiverr, it is usually with the people who communicate very quickly, right? Who don't take too much time to reply to a message, for example, who are very concise in their sentence constructions and just really know what they can offer, how long it takes to produce something, whether it's a service or a product, right? So you have to look for ways to stay ahead of the game, which in today's market is extremely difficult. And it comes with a sacrifice. And the sacrifice basically means that you have to be willing to think, live, and work as an entrepreneur. And that sounds kind of like trite, but it basically boils down to being willing to make those extra hours, to send emails at 11 p.m., to wake up at 5 a.m. and work until you go to sleep because there's just so much to do. Because again, like, there is the actual work, but around that, you also have to do the financial housekeeping, you have to do the prospecting, you have to network, you have to go to events, you have to talk to people. These things are basically the price that you pay. But the upside of it is that you are a free individual. And I'll get back to that in a bit. So to recap, solopreneurs often face social isolation and burnout. Secondly, the competition is extremely fierce. And thirdly, the fast pace of technological change can be extremely overwhelming, right? Solopreneurs must constantly adapt to stay relevant and competitive. Again, like, the market is constantly changing. So unlike you being employed by an employer and you have like a lifetime contract, which again, I know that it's not a guarantee or anything, but even more so as a solopreneur, you are required to adapt, to evolve, to grow, to keep educating yourself and learn new things so you can stay ahead of the game. Those are some of the challenges that I see, some of the challenges that I lived myself. I really understand the feeling of not being really connected to a specific project or a group of people because you're working on multiple projects and you work with multiple teams, etc. But there is also a lot of opportunity. Obviously, if there wasn't an upside, no one would do it. So the ability to work remotely and tap into global market creates opportunities for solopreneurs to just reach new customers and to expand their business, right? You really can, depending on what you're doing and depending on what your skill set is, you can reach people very easily on a global scale, Plus, as time passes by and your skill set gets better, as you grow as an individual and as your track record gets longer, you can just ask for higher fees per hour, because true solopreneurs don't get paid by the hour, they get paid for what they're worth for, right? So you have to kind of like understand what it is that you're worth and obviously, be realistic about it. If you're in the beginning stages, don't go charge extremely high prices if you haven't developed a skill set yet, if you don't have a proven track record with valuable references, right? So the ability to just go super wide and reach anybody in the world basically for free, right? You can do that through LinkedIn, Upwork, Fiverr, all these platforms that are there at your disposal for free use to reach out and offer your services really gives a sense of freedom, right? A lot of people really are living the digital nomad lifestyle, but at the same time, like I said, it's not always rainbows and sunshine. You do have to understand that that's not all. Once you've done it, once you've been able to work with your laptop on the beach, you understand that it's very unhandy. It's not practical. There is sand on your keyboard. It's the sun that is constantly shining on your screen. You're sweating. You're not sitting comfortable. So a lot of people do tend to overrate the experience of a digital nomad lifestyle. But again, what is really real is the sense of freedom that comes with it. Just being able to kind of like figure out how you want to do stuff and how you want to spend your time, etc. Now, the ability to leverage technology and automation while upgrading your skill set can also save you tremendous amounts of time, which again results in you being paid and still doing the same work, but doing that same work in less amount of time. So you're becoming more efficient, which allows you to focus on how to grow, how to expand, how you delegate certain things, maybe even an outsource, and you pay other people for doing certain work. And that way you can even become like an intermediary, right? Like kind of like almost like a matchmaker without actually working as a matchmaker. I actually did this once. I had this coaching assignment that I had to give, and I had to come up with a training that I already gave so many times, and I wanted to do something new. And so I asked someone on Fiverr if they could make me a presentation with a couple of bullet points, because I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the inspiration to make a very nice PowerPoint that just stood out from everything else. So I just outsourced that entire presentation with just a couple of bullet points, and that's how you can do it. Anyway, so the ability to specialize and offer niche expertise can also help solopreneurs tremendously to stand out in crowded market and, command higher prices. So again, you have to figure out what you're good at. Not necessarily what you like, although that obviously helps if you like it and you have to do it so many hours a day. But especially like, what is the skill set that you're good at that you can turn into a high income skill and then leverage that. And so figuring out which niches are hot, which niches are trending, and which niches there is a high demand, which skill set you have that matches with one of those niches, and then just figure out how you can work your way up to eventually command higher prices and maybe even start hiring people at some point in time. Also, I genuinely believe that solopreneurship is going to become increasingly popular. All the statistics, all the data basically supports that it's almost like an exponential growth. More people are turning to freelance assignments. More people are turning to, the digital nomad lifestyle, working with multiple clients instead of sticking to one particular employer. So I think that we're still at the beginning of this entire solopreneurship journey. So there you have it, a glimpse into the future of solopreneurship and everything you need to know to stay ahead of the game. I gave you a couple of cons, I gave you a couple of pros, just take them into consideration. If you're interested in building a successful solo business in the digital age, be sure to subscribe to this channel because I'm going to do more videos on this. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below. I always answer. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.